So let it be written. So let it be done. This is Tabletop Terrors Landscape. We're going to try doing the old holding the camera landscape because apparently in one of the last Facebook updates, it does that now. So, my name is Tim, and I run the channel Tabletop Terrors with my brother James. Our whole thing is we believe that everyone can be more creative, and we use tabletop games to prove it. This is Offhand Attack. It's a stream that I do whenever I get an opportunity to do it, usually from my car because it's convenient. If you are a Tabtarian, if you're not, doesn't matter. It's time to do a Tabtarian toast. Come on now. Today we're going to be talking about two things I'm going to fix about my campaign that's coming up on Saturday. Before we do that, may you mend the first break. May you kill the first snake. And may you conquer everything you undertake. Sláinte. This is a live stream. Now, it's going to be harder for me to manage the chat because I have a much smaller window. But we're going to talk about two things that I need to fix in my DMing overall, but specifically in the campaign that I'm running this Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern on Tabletop Terrors. Now, a quick plug for this campaign. If you're a fan of the Fistful of Dice channel, watch this game. Matt Click from A Fistful of Dice is in this game. If you're a fan of Be a Better Game Master, you should watch this game because Barker of Be a Better Game Master is in this game on Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern on the Tabletop Terrors channel. If you're a fan of WASD20, Nate from WASD20 is in this game. If you are a fan of my brother James, who is also on this channel, James is also in this game. And of course, who could forget the magnificent, the wonderful Cassie Richards is also in this game. If you are a fan of any of those people by themselves, combine all of those people together. This Saturday night on the Tabletop Terrors channel, we are going to be doing the next episode in our Dragon Grin campaign. Now, here's the best news. This is an awesome jumping on point for you. If you've never seen a single session, that's fine. We're going to do an awesome recap at the beginning that's going to get you up to speed. But it's going to be a fun game. It's going to be a blast. So, anyway, that's a little housekeeping. This is a live stream, so let's go to the chat. Jason Smith is here. Scott Hustis is here. Grayson Akins. What's up, man? Josh Glisson. Scott says hello, hello. Alan Holloway is here. Paul Quattrocchiocchi. Hiya. Drake is here. Hey, hey, hey. Afternoon. Josh Glisson says, do you really believe even Salvador Dali could get more creative? Yeah, absolutely. Do you know why? Because Salvador Dali is a fantastic artist, but how is he at music? Salvador Dali, or take any great musician, and they can get more creative at art. I don't think that there's a limit to people being more creative. I don't think there's a limit to people being more creative. I think that some people max out in certain areas or get super, super good, but absolutely. So, Jason Smith, may you conquer everything you undertake. Enoch Newkirk, I have nothing to toast with. Do the old thumb and pinky. The old fake alcoholic. Woo! The old 1980s comedy, meaning the guy behind me is drinking. Sean DeJazo's here. Scott Hustis says, Dragon Grin Chronicles game tonight, boys and girls. See you all there. That is on the RPG Construct channel, Drake Warren's channel. Tonight is a game called the Dragon Grin Chronicles, an episodic, incredible campaign. Check it out. It's going to be a really good episode. Drake has shared some small bits with me. So, the two things that I want to talk to you about that I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be doing a prep video. And so I'm going to record my prep and I'm going to release it after the game. Okay? So I will prep, I'm going to record the whole thing, and then you can kind of see the process that I'm taking. But there are two specific things that I have done in the past, and just listening back to games and seeing where I've ended up. The first thing is, never say when. And the second thing is, stop standing still. And I'm going to get very specific with what I'm talking about for both of those things. Never say when, stop standing still. But when I do prep, I've been trying this method called the bucket method, where essentially you choose your scene, You write a mission statement for the scene, and then you fill up the bucket with whatever you need to make that mission statement happen. I'm still going to do that. But my biggest flaw when it comes to that method is when I'm joining the scenes together. And to a degree, within the scenes themselves, I say this. Okay, and when this happens, then this. Now, the issue is that I'm either going to have to try to force and make that happen, or I'm going to be stuck in my prep, shoehorning something in that doesn't make sense happening. So how do I combat this? So if I have something that's supposed to happen, what do? I can't say, all right, because what I keep doing, I keep wanting to give examples, and I know what is going to happen in the next session. I don't want to give examples of what's going to happen in the next session on accident. So I'm going to try to use one of the earlier sessions. Here, this is a great example. In the first session, and there are spoilers for the Dragon Grin campaign. Right now I'm about to spoil you, but it's okay, let me. So you can jump right in this coming Saturday at 8. If I say, okay, I'm going to crucify the players, and when they escape, this is going to happen. That's passable, because I don't expect the game to die right there and all of them die. But if I say, okay, I'm going to crucify the characters, and when they escape and look for their items, that's the when that I'm talking about. That's the stuff I need to cut out. I really need to go into a scene with the table set and then let the meal happen. The when they go do this, when they go do this, is exactly why we always say as Dungeon Masters, well, players always surprise us. It's not even that they always surprise us, it's that we feel more surprised because we incrementally include too many whens in our small prep even. So, what am I going to do to solve this? I'm going to make sure to place pieces, specifically NPCs or other things in my control, without destroying player agency, that are going to act in a certain way no matter what. Well, when the scene starts, they have intentions that are a certain way. Now, those can change, but I'm going to give you an example. I'm going to say, in that same crucifixion scene, so I've got these players, okay, boom. All right, when they escape, what I'm going to say is, instead of saying when they escape and look for their stuff, if instead I say when they try to escape, the guard who is watching from down the mountain is going to charge the players. Now I have a thing that is going to happen. It's a catalyst. Now, maybe they can talk the guard out of killing them. Maybe they can, hide, those kinds of things. I need to be okay with that. But place moving pieces is probably the best way to put it. Don't place static pieces in the scene, okay? And I'm going to check the chat in a moment, but place moving pieces. Place a guard who's on his way somewhere. Place someone who has a purpose for being there, because they're going to go through that no matter if the player intervenes or not. That guard is going over the ridge. Do those kinds of things and stop saying, when the players do this, this will happen. No. Take the when out of there and say, okay, I need somebody to rifle through this pile. Okay, that's important to me. Don't try to shepherd the players over there. The easiest, Occam's razor scooter, as Matt would call it, the easiest solution is to then have one of the guards rifle through the pile and then let the guard and the players respond in kind. Timothy Waters is here. Simon Oberbrinkman. He says, I think the only way to improve your campaign is to not run it. I see what you did there. Jason Smith said, it will definitely be on in my house. Rock and roll. Rob Barclay is here. Hail, Rob. Kyle Swanson, afternoon, lovely people. Aaron Knight says, give me Harbinger or give me death. Hey, man, wrong chat. Get out of here. No, I'm kidding. We were working on Harbinger a little bit earlier today. It's going very well. If you're curious what he's talking about, Harbinger is our 5th edition science fantasy playtest we're releasing probably in the next 30 days-ish, 60 days maybe. We'll see what happens. Maybe 90 days, who knows. But if you want a sample of Harbinger being playtested by me, James, Matt, and Barker of Absolute Tabletop, you can go to A Fistful of Dice's YouTube channel and see like a 3-hour video of us playtesting the beta. Alpha, maybe. Stephen Back is here. Carol Dunster Scott says, I'm looking forward to Drake dropping me once again and pulling on my emotions in unknown ways. Good times. That's what a great DM does. Simon Oberbrinkman says, interesting to hear that you prep by scenes. I always prep by characters and their goals. I feel it helps me better let the story grow more naturally, but the danger is it can get a little less epic. So that's what I want to talk to you about the next thing, because I used to prep like that as well, and I still do to a degree. I just place what you're saying inside of a scene. So my problem is if I prep by the character's goals, my default issue is that I'll say, okay, this character needs to overcome this fear, but I'll imagine this flat, sort of nothing, empty grassland. Like, the location is flat and the tone is kind of, I can't really find it. So what I do is I create a mission statement, and what I'll specifically do is, if you have a character who wants to, for instance, in one of the first sessions, Ephraim wanted to get his mother's sword back. If I know, okay, Ephraim wants to get the sword, I'm not going to base the scene on that. That's going to be something I put in the bucket. Because to me, the scene is more interesting if I say, okay, I want to create a fight that the odds aren't even. I want it to feel like a Tarantino movie using a lack of resources by the players. Okay. Now, one of the things I'm going to do in there, one of the pieces I'm going to drop in that bucket is say, the guy who they're fighting has Ephraim's mom's sword. So I'm going to put the goal squarely in the middle of the scene. So I'm with you. I just have learned to try to encompass it in a scene and a mission statement so that it's a moving part within a machine rather than just a goal floating out there. Now, you might not do that. That's my major issue that I do. Josh says, I think I'm smarter than my players because they're all family and I'm the smartest one. So, and the humblest one. I'm kidding you. Andre Torres is here. Grayson Aikens says, the playtest video was awesome. Watched it last night. If you haven't seen it, you're missing out. I totally agree with that. Enoch Newkirk, he says, this helps me a lot. I always tend to think of when and come up with branching paths and possibilities that my players may do, and then none of them happen. Here's the other thing that happens. Because you're thinking about when, you're missing out on these fractal opportunities to role play the scene and let it truly develop naturally. That's what I think. I do this. Oh, I'm focused on, okay, this is the part where I need to get them. Okay, they need to go over to that pile. So what am I, I'm sorry, what was your turning the initiative over? What did you say? How about, no. I'm not worried about that because I got my guard going over to rustle that pile in like 1d4 minutes. And that's what's going to happen. But in the meantime, I'm in the moment. I'm face to face with my players and I'm like, all right, let's role play this. Let's make this happen because I know this train's coming. This consequence, this, verisimilitude, this moving piece is going to happen. Now, I'm not planning an outcome, but I'm planning a catalyst. And so that's how I kind of do it. But you're right, then none of them happen, and then you're robbing yourself of the actual experience because half of your brain is somewhere else. Let's see, I'm trying to swipe with my other hand so I don't put my finger in front of the camera. Josh Bingham, hey guys, Marquise Hardis is here. The bold and the beautiful has arrived. Mark Davis is also here. Grayson says, what if when you're prepping, you replace the word when with if? I think that would make the overall scene more fluid and less static or railroady. Totally. I think that is a really solid way to do it. If this kind of thing, and I would probably zoom out and do like umbrella stuff. If they run, if they fight, if they this, if they that, and kind of just have maybe a couple of quick lines for each one, that's a great idea. And I think it's a really good balance. If they try to negotiate, maybe try this. If they, that's a great way to do it. Good middle ground. Andre Torres is halfway through the Harbinger playtest. The magic system is pretty sweet. Yeah, dude. Astra and Astra Fade, and it's really neat. Enoch Newkirk says, so just to make sure I understand this, I don't think of when and then try to plan ahead for what my players will do. I plan on an upcoming situation. Yes. Throw a catalyst into the mix. You have this glass of water, and you're holding Alka-Seltzer tablets, and you're just like, bloop, shh, and then just let it play out. So instead of saying, because this is one example I heard. It was a long time ago, and it was on a Facebook message, and someone said, here's what I had planned. I'm going to set the town on fire, And when the Dragonborn cleric uses his frost breath to put it out, and I was like, nope, do not count on that. Because that is the one time, because we say, well, players always do the unexpected. The player will surprise you in this way. They'll say, I actually don't like this city. It's against my God, and I think it's holy justice, it's righteous wrath that it's burning. And then you're like, oh no! So instead of saying, when my players put out the fire, you say, okay, the town is going to be set on fire. That's the catalyst. That's it. Now place a couple of other pieces. We were talking about these player goals before. What is something that one of the players wouldn't want burned? Specifically, choose one. Don't say, well, and you are sad that a cat's on fire, and your mom's in that building over there. And no, take one player, focus on them, and specifically say, okay, this scene is about this fire. But, and if you really want to involve the cleric, the Dragonborn cleric who breathes ice breath, you can say it's something that is important to him or his church or his, beliefs or what have you. Now, I just put a fire, the building's on fire. That's the catalyst. There's something inside. That's my plan. That's my prep. And one other thing, I want to drop probably a person or two in there, specific named people, those NPCs, if I want to say, Garrick Wilhelm III is there from Aberwith. That's what I would do. That's how I would do this strategy. And then, guess what? Here's the fun part. We figure it out together. That's it. And some people might say, well, but what happens in this? That's why it's a collaborative story. That's what I'm learning, is that the fun, the part that gives me the endorphin rush, the part that makes me love DMing and the satisfaction, is putting the players in a situation where they have absolute agency, but there are a lot of things that can go wrong. And then deciding the best story to tell in that situation. So hopefully that makes sense. Aaron Knight says, so far I've managed to keep my money away from you, which is not an easy task, but Harbinger looks way too cool to pass up, buddy. Sean says, OMFG, 1 minute into Tim's video again, someone needs something. First time since 10 a.m. I'm never going to be able to watch these live, LOL. BJ Hall says, yo, Tim, keep the flow of wisdom coming. I will definitely do it. You know what these streams are? Usually, me talking through what I need to be doing. Which reminds me, we're going to talk about the second point, which is stop standing still. I have this really, really bad habit of setting scenes, one, right after another, all in the same place. Look to film as an example of why you shouldn't do this, or television is great at this. Stop standing still. Move time and move your location. Don't worry about role-playing every single minute, because if you can move the players along, and this is something I ripped off straight from Matt Click. He does this so well. If there's nothing else important happening in the area and the scene is sort of over, you can move it along. The players have the opportunity to take a step back and say, well, before we go, can I do this? Oh, absolutely. And then you can have a role play moment that lasts a moment or several minutes, 30 minutes if it's just this rich deposit that you find. But I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. You don't have to role play every single minute. So when there's an important stopping point, especially in a scene change, allow time to pass and change scenery so it feels different and so it feels like a new scene. There are absolutely exceptions to this rule. If you're specifically in a certain place on purpose, we call these bottle episodes, usually where it takes place in one location, and that's the point. But I think a lot of times we create bottle episodes accidentally. And what we're doing is making it feel stagnant because we're in the same location, living out every single minute. It's okay to take a cue from television and movies and just live out the cool minutes. So that's my advice. Change the time and change the location. So I'll give you an example of this. Again, spoilers abound. Kathleen was just shot in the eye at the end of the last session, session 3. So there's an arrow in her eye. We presume that she's dead. And then there's an arrow flying towards Ephraim's head. This is classic cliffhanger stuff. You'll see this a lot on like kids cartoons where the camera view is like of something flying right at a Ninja Turtle's head, and then they break for commercial. And this is especially emphasized on Netflix or anything you're watching without commercials, because it fades to black and then it fades right back up. And then it's a different camera view of them ducking, under the sewer lid or something. It's okay to do this. It's okay to do this, especially with cliffhangers. But when a scene ends, save yourself the awkwardness of, okay, guys, so do you want to leave? Do you want to go now? Okay, great. If you know, and they go, all right, well, we need to go visit old Gao in the hills. Kind of pause. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. If nobody says anything from there and they've all decided, and they're like, yeah, okay, we're gonna probably try to take these horses to see old Gao. Okay, great, all right. So what else do we? Okay, right, and they're planning. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. The horse ride is fairly uneventful as you see old Gao's shack coming up on the horizon. It'll be dusk soon. Boom, you're in. Now, if the players want to do something else or not travel by horse, that's fine. But to me, that's less awkward than, okay, so what do you do? Which horse do you get on? Are you, okay, what's the marching order? It's like, I'm learning, again, ripping off Matt Click. My channel, Tabletop Terrors with James, should just be Matt Click Jr. But specifically doing that helps move the scene. It moves the time. It moves the location. And that's okay. Tyler Hurst is here. Josh Glisson says, so prep like coding. If this, then that. Pretty much. Even trickier. Don't prep like coding. Just say, here are the pieces I want to use, and then code on the fly. Oh, this happened? This. This happened? This. Tyler Hurst is here. What up? Tyler Hurst running a super awesome game in Dragon Grin. It's called Sinking Feeling. And it's about the Drogas dwarves of Sphere Below. These scrapper dwarves that dig in this blood ocean. And I'm really, really looking forward to that game. Simon Oberbrinkman says, Firetown, make them hear people inside the house. Exactly. Tyler Hurst, I love this idea of character focal points. Don't tell them the fire is important because it's a fire. Tell them the fire is important because their childhood home is burning. It will let them make, and then it cut you off, but exactly. Simon says, to stay in your lingo, I would caution with too many catalysts inside scenes as they start to railroad. Put a problem and don't put ways. I would, in fact, limit a scene to 1 catalyst. My personal opinion. And here's the thing. Catalysts become easier and easier to make because it's not always an event. The more pieces you put on the board, the more a catalyst is easy. In my campaign in Dragon Grin, we have 5 people who are wanted for the murder of a crime lord's brother. There are a lot of different catalysts I can put in the way. So essentially, the way that I'm thinking of this is, I've got these players who are wanted for murder. Wherever they go, I can find a way, in most cases, to figure out how to link it. So if they go to a small town, everything's great, everything's good, but the barkeep is in the protection pocket of the Stain family. And so he's kind, he's cordial, everything like that. Unbeknownst to the players, as soon as they leave, he goes and tells his contact tells another contact, tells the guy in that town who works for Stain, and then all of a sudden, the adventurers are doing a side quest, and we're off doing our thing, and 4 enforcers show up to take their heads for the bounty. So totally agree. Don't put too many and let them develop naturally. The pieces will tell you what catalyst to move, what piece to move on the board. Nicholas Jaquette says, what do you do when a player you've engaged in a roleplay moment doesn't seem to be interested to talk about his character, but is the one that is supposed to be solving it? It comes down to choosing which players you engage for what roleplay moments. I have brief conversations with the players beforehand, and I don't give them too much information, but I'll try to tell them, hey, I want to explore this part of the region. Is there anything in particular you want to explore with your character? Oh, well, I have these questions I want answered. Okay, and I kind of just see how it would fit, but the bottom line is that if there's a character who's not connecting with a roleplay moment, then the collaboration isn't working in that instant, that moment. Don't sweat it and roll with it, and try not to make it so that there's one person who's supposed to do one thing. Be open to creativity, be open to them, other players chiming in and doing things. But if there really is something you need done, look, man, I'm a transparent DM because to me, the execution is the fun part. It doesn't all have to be a secret. I'm not all about like, I'm going to keep it all secret. That usually fails, in fact. I would message my player and I'd say, hey, Nate, I want to give Garrick an opportunity to connect with his past. Is there something you have in mind that could come up from his past that would really be sort of a slap in the face? Yeah, let's do, this, great, perfect. So now I get to control what happens, but he gives me this dude, Bart Mullins, say. Now I know, and he knows, when Bart shows up on the scene, this is the thing from his past that's going to try to slap him in the face. So he has like this peripheral pseudo warning, but he's not being railroaded or told exactly. But I'm just, look, man, I got to give him some idea, because if I need him for this one role play moment, I need to tell him that in some cases. Nate Vanderzee is here. Oh my gosh, I was just talking about you, Nate. Scott Houston says, Drake did that last Dragon Green game with my character. Here's your long-lost sister. Yay, happy roleplay moment. But she wants you to kill someone or the person you vowed to protect. What's up? See you later, Josh. Josh goes and says, it reminds me of my cousin. When this happens, unrealistic scenarios, when someone kicks me in the shin, I'm going to smack him in the face. Simon says, one of the just live out the cool minutes. Be wary here, too. It's easy to think you know what cool is. Other people's thoughts on what cool might vary widely. This is very true. I think I need to make this clear. I know my players very well. So he's making a really good point here. This advice that I'm giving you is specific to player dialogue. I'm not just guessing either. I know this is how I prep for a session. I prep my part, but I'm sending, and I already have sent Facebook messages to my players saying, hey, here's what I kind of want to focus on. Is that cool with you? Do you have any thoughts? Okay, boom. So they get to tell me what they think is cool. My job is to slowly unearth it like an artifact in moments in the game that make sense. But Simon, that's fantastic, because what happened in the example just above, he's like, there's this cool roleplay moment, and the player didn't roleplay it. The player probably didn't connect with it in the way you assumed they would. So that's very good advice. Thanks, Nate. Nate said, great thoughts. Paul says, number one tip, steal from Matt Click and other DMs. It's exactly right, man. To me, it's the soul of the hobby, is in being inspired by others, learning from them, and then making it your own so that you can then use that on your players, who will then mimic your style when they DM, and it's just this really cool circle of life. Nicholas says, well said, Paul. Timmy! Bill Mangan's here. Andre Torres says, I'm looking forward to see how the Crux campaign develops. Will the characters rise up to become heroes? Or do they really have no chance in the end in this land of evil? Andre, that is the exact question that I was okay letting be nebulous. Before it was like, okay, how do I make these guys heroes? That's what Dragon Grin's about. I need to make sure my campaign is about people starting from nothing and then rising up. And I thought, no, I need to let the story that is being told happen before us. I don't know if they're going to be heroes. This could be a cautionary tale that you can't win. And that might be where we end up. And that's okay. But we're going to let the scenes play out, do their thing, and then we're going to have fulfilling character arcs where these characters go somewhere on a journey internally. Nathaniel says, not stealing, adopting from other GMs. Man, that's stealing. I'm just kidding. Jason Smith says, I'm super guilty of stealing from other GMs. There's no guilt because there's no crime. Hey, good ideas are good ideas. It is what is the phrase? It's the highest form of flattery. So those are the two things. You're going to see coming this Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern, on the Tabletop Terrors channel. I'm going to be not saying when. I'm going to just play some pieces and then let it play out. Then I'm going to make sure that I don't just stand still. I'm going to change time and location when the mood needs to be changed and when the scene needs to be changed. And I encourage you to do the same thing. I'll be releasing the living recap document probably tomorrow for everyone to kind of catch up on the names, the notable locations, the player characters, so everyone can read up on that stuff. But I'll also be recording my prep video. I'm thinking I'm going to do that Friday night. So I'm thinking I'm going to do like a live stream of just kind of maybe do a recap live stream Friday night, just talking about stuff, and then release the living. You know what I'll do? I'll probably go over the living playtest document Friday night if I have the time. Just kind of go through it point by point, talk it through. Maybe we'll make it a marathoner. Do like 1 or 2 hours, something like that. Just have fun and hang out. And then Saturday afternoon, I'm going to take all the notes I have here and I'm going to take the time to record my prep, my full prep from where I need to be. And then we're going to play the game Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern. So, anyway, this has been a lot of fun. I'm really glad we were able to talk about this. Simon says, I wish you good luck in your goal. It's good to see you set goals for your GMing. It's the only way to improve. Thank you. And Simon, it's great to have you in these streams, man. I really love your perspective. And you catch some things that are important. And I'm glad you bring that perspective so that I can kind of think about how I feel about them. So I appreciate that. Mark Davis says, I flattered the hell out of the AbTab guys then. That's funny. Borrowing with no intent of returning it in its original form, which is stealing. That's what Nathaniel said. Josh says, so this is the hard part, trying to realize that really it is a collaborative storytelling and I'm not the computer and they're playing a video game. That's the part that I had the hardest time with at first. I think I'm going to do a video at some point with James, probably the next time we record, called DM Agency. The Dungeon Master has agency as well as the players. They are equal but different in their roles. And so I've had a problem deciding what I needed to say is as a Dungeon Master. And that's not going to happen anymore. Because if you give too much agency to the players, it's not as fulfilling for many, and it's not as fulfilling for me. So, meaning, hey, what's this guy? Who's this NPC? It gives them less to react off of and can water down character moments if you're not careful. So, anyway, we're all constantly improving. We're all constantly changing and constantly... I mean, truly, the only way to really get better is to do it. And I find that every time I DM a game, I'm like, wow, I feel like that was my best game I've ever DM'd. And then I watch it back and I'm like, I want to change this. And that didn't turn out, or I'll get comments. And so, yeah, this has been awesome. You're amazing. Make sure, if you're watching this on Facebook, crush the like button and follow us below. That's the only way you're going to get notifications if you see us going live. And if you're watching this on YouTube, go to the dungeon. It's what I'm calling the comments. Go to the dungeon and click on the various links in there. You've got Absolute Tabletop. You've got our Twitter. You've got our e-newsletter. Each one of those things you crush down there in the dungeon is worth at least 50 XP, maybe 100 if you do them all. But if you want to be uncommonly good at D&D, practice. If you want to watch some videos about it, subscribe to Tabletop Terrors in as many forms as you can. But listen, you're Tabtarian, and you're what make this channel great. And until next time, may your dice roll high.